Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the BFNL Netball Show. We're back finally after a couple of weeks' absence, a media ban put on yours truly by the hierarchy here at AFL Goldfields. But we're back, we're firing, and we're back to talk all things netball in the BFNL. My name's Sean Kelly. Matt Wiltshire is with me as well. Welcome back, Matty. Great to be back.
It's fantastic to be back, mate. It's been a few weeks without it, and I think a fair few people are missing it, so it's good to be back on the screens and giving everyone some good previews and reviews coming into this week's games.
Well, let's hope they're good previews and reviews. We'll do a little bit of housekeeping before we get into last week's results, because we do have a couple of awards that slipped by the wayside, obviously, in the weeks when we haven't been on the screen. We know that the last Stockland Wendouree player of the week that we saw was the girl that's going to come in as our special guest later on in the show, Molly Boyle from Lake Wendouree, who was presented the award at Interleague training earlier this season. Round 6, of course, was during the media ban kind of exile there. Our Stockland Wendouree player of the week for that week was Tale Bari from the Darley Football Netball Club. So congratulations to you, Tale. I've got the voucher ready to go. We also had an SC Technology Player of the Month for May, the $699 Toshiba touchscreen tablet. Say that 3 times fast. Toshiba touchscreen tablet. Thanks to our great friends, of course, at SC Technology Group, who do a fantastic job with all of your print managed requirements. Mel McCauley, the coach of the Melton Football Netball Club, had an absolutely fantastic May. We'll touch more on Mel's stats later on in the show, but she is shooting basically all of Melton's score at the moment. She was their best player in just about every game in the month, and she is well and truly a deserving winner of the SC Technology Group Player of the Month for May. Congratulations, Mel. She already knows about this before seeing, because I spoke to her on Facebook during the week, but that Toshiba tablet is coming your way courtesy of SC Technology Group. On that note, Matty, it's rendered him absolutely speechless. That's how big that award is. Let's jump straight into having a look at last week's games. Round 7 in the BFNL. Bacchus Marsh taking on Redan, and it was Redan 49, defeating the Cobras 32. Parry 22 goals and Hope 19 goals for Redan, with Susie Delmo 17 and Jackie Reid 10 for Bacchus Marsh. Probably not quite the comprehensive result we would have thought. I thought this may have been a 20, 25, 30 goal kind of margin instead, given the form of both teams this year, which I suppose really augurs well for Bacchus Marsh in the end. Both teams threw their players around a little bit, especially after half-time. It was almost a completely different Redan side that came out on the court, but take nothing away from Bacchus Marsh because they did a good job.
Yeah, I think everyone expected Redan to sort of just blow this one out of the water. Bacchus Marsh not having won a game so far, and Redan being one of them sides right up the top of the table this year. But Bacchus Marsh, I think, came to play, had their home ground advantage there, and Redan travelled down, and Bacchus Marsh, I think, really did surprise them with the way they played. And look, all credit to Redan, they still did come away with a 17-goal win, so well done to them. But look, Bacchus Marsh, it's good signs for them, especially coming into this week against Ballarat, who's obviously not as strong a side as Redan, so it'll be an interesting game for that one. But yeah, Bacchus Marsh taking steps in the right spot, so hopefully they can keep on improving, and we'll see a few wins later in the season.
Yeah, they are indeed. Good work by Redan. Though in the end, 17 goals, still a very comprehensive margin for victory, and they got the job done with only really having 4 players that played the entire game. Emma Henry, Cass Peace, Ruby Parry and Holly Frew were the only players that spent the whole 4 quarters on the court on the weekend. So really good job done by Redan, as was a good job done by East Point, defeating Melton South 53-23 in what really was an 8-point game for these two sides, because it has now created that 8-point separation on the ladder between the 6th placed East Point and the 8th placed Melton South. Lauren Dew was fantastic with 25 goals on the weekend and was named amongst East Point's better players along with Blanchfield and Kate Martin. Maria Tahi scored 21 of the 23 goals that Melton South scored on the weekend. Monique Robertson and Jill Vanderos also amongst the Panthers' better players. Maddie, and again, this was probably the other way. We expect this to be a bit closer, and it's become a bit of a blowout.
Yeah, East Point really put on a show last week and winning by 30 goals against a Melton South team that I believe is actually a lot stronger than what they are performing on the court. So all credit to East Point. That's a fantastic result, and they're really starting to put some wins together, and they're looking like they're going to really push for that final spot and be a contender with them other really strong seed sides this season. So look, I definitely wouldn't rule them out for being up there in the final series as well, East Point. If they continue this form, anything could happen. And you look at the Pride, have their last game this weekend, so they'll have the pride players back. So look, it's anything could happen for the rest of the season.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the way the ladder sits at the moment, we've got 5 teams tied on 24 points. They're sitting 1 through 5 on the ladder. East Point, a couple of games behind them at the moment. They're on 16. I think they're a game ahead of Sebastopol at the moment, but they're well and truly sitting in that box seat for the 6th spot. But probably need to start getting a consistent winning pattern together so that they can push up into those higher rungs of the ladder. Melton taking on Ballarat on the weekend, and another solid win for the Bloods, who have been flying under the radar a little bit in recent weeks, but not so anymore. They defeated Ballarat 47-6. Mel McCauley, 46 of those 47 goals. So she's making a play for back-to-back SC Technology Player of the Month awards is Mel. She's fantastic once again, but the name that stands out in their best players, Brooke Thompson, back up and flying in the defensive end for Melton. That makes the world of difference for the Bloods, because if Brooke's on song at one end and Mel's on song at the other end, they're a difficult team to stop.
Yeah, exactly. With two of the, you could say, the better players, or two of the nearly the best players in the league at either end of your court. I don't really see what much more Melton could want out there. So having them two players is just fantastic. And you see Mel shooting 46 to 47, and she's also just so accurate. You always talk about how many goals she does shoot. She only has a couple more shots than what she does score. So
she shot an 81% clip on the weekend.
And she's even usually higher than that. She's a phenomenal shooter and very hard to stop, especially for the young Ballarat defenders. But look, I was down at the game for stages, and Melton just looked way too strong for the Ballarat side, and there was one point there that I think it was nearly hailing out on the court. So well done to the girls for sticking out through there. I think it was the same across most of the games. But look, to win by 41 points, they've had a fantastic win there, and all credit to Melton.
Yeah, fantastic win by the Bloods. Speaking of fantastic wins, Lake Wendouree got one on the weekend. They moved to the top of the ladder, inflicting North Ballarat City's first loss for the season. 38-21 win for the Lakers. Kat Pascan, 21 goals on the weekend. Emma Burton, their better player, along with Chrissy James and Katie Williams. North Ballarat City, Sarah Milton was their better player, along with Emma Church and Olivia Jones. No McCartans in the side last weekend. Took off for a family holiday, I believe. Stacey, Gina and Louise all not there. Simon didn't play footy either, we believe. So there's a long story behind that. The girls that know what I'm talking about will have absolutely loved that, though. It wasn't a bad sign for North Ballarat City, though, because obviously, yes, they lost the game. But what they did was they got the blood two of their really, really good young players, Megan Osmond and Zoe Nevitt, who played in our BFNL 17 and under interleague side a couple of weeks ago up in Shepherd, and both played their first A-grade games on the weekend, and from all reports, both really weren't out of their depth.
Yeah, it's good that North saw this as an opportunity to sort of bring some of their younger players up, especially from the 17s as well. It's good to see them young players getting a sort of a taste of the A-grade and really sort of looking at their future there. But look, the No McCartans really did hit them hard. They had 4 girls go through the goal ring on Saturday. So look, it makes it tough, obviously, having 2 of your stronger players in the team not playing, and then also the coach not there as well. But look, Lake Wendouree have just played a fantastic game. They've really started to put a few games together and playing really well and showing some strong performances. So they definitely deserve the top of the ladder spot, and they're becoming now the team to beat. They were a bit unknown at the start of the season, and I think now that all of the new players are really starting to play well together and gelling well together as a team. So they're definitely one to watch for the rest of the season.
Yeah, they are indeed, but there is one team that'll probably take umbrage to you calling Lake Wendouree the team to beat, and that is the reigning premier Sunbury, who got a little bit of a scare on the weekend. They were down at quarter time against Sebastopol, and there was only 4 goals in it at half time, but in the end they got on their bikes in the third quarter, and they celebrated Lauren Gilcrist's 250th game for the Lions in the best possible way with a 46-32 win. Ruth Smith, 27 goals, and Emily Azzopardi, 19. They teamed very well in the shooters up with no Sophie Gunn on the weekend, and Prue Stanley and Hayley Mackey also fantastic for the Lions. Georgia Can was Sebastopol's best player, Jessica Carrells and Cindy May in defence as well, also looking very, very good. But it was all about Lauren Gilcrist. She started her career in 1997, would you believe, Sunbury's very first year in the BFL. She's still playing at the moment. She was an emergency. She didn't take the court in Sunbury's 1997 A-grade premiership. Had to wait until 2013 for the next one where she did take the court, 240-odd games later. But great to see Lauren up and firing, and she still got it too. She really played a good game on the weekend. partly because it was her 250th game, but partly because she did play well as well. We're awarding her this week's Stockland Wendouree Player of the Week award. Congratulations, Lauren. You've got that as well as the many accolades that you received on Saturday, which you fully deserved. So on behalf of Maddie and myself and everyone at the BFL, congratulations once again on your milestone. And congratulations to Sunbury on pulling off a pretty important win, because Sebastopol they wanted to spoil the party. And for a good long stretch, it looked like they were going to.
Yeah, I think the situation with Sebastopol is they're just going to put 4 quarters together. You look at their first, second and last quarters, they were pretty much goal for goal with Sunbury, who the team to beat this year. They're a very, very strong side, and Sebastopol up and coming, and this was a game where they really got to show that they have a lot of improvement from previous years, and they're going to be up there sort of this year looking at a finals position. But if they can put 4 quarters together, I think they really will come very close to some of these top sides, which is what they need to do. You look at when they played Lakers, when they played all of the other sort of top sides, it's just 1 or 2 quarters that really let them down. So if they can put 4 quarters together, I think they'll be right, and they'll be tough to beat when they do put their four quarters together with sort of your Georgia Cam down forward, and then their new recruit Rhiannon Banner down the back, who's
missed the first quarter on Saturday. Got to the game about 3 minutes into the first quarter because she was playing footy for Victoria Metro during the day, but came back on and actually she played a really good game. We gave her a bit of stick the other week on Banner Cam, and we caught her at possibly her worst possible moments, but she is actually a really good player. Got to see it again firsthand on the weekend, and she played some really good defence against a strong Sunbury goaling combination.
Yeah, no, she's a very handy pickup for Sebas, and I'm sure she's going to have a very good future all the rest of the year. This year she's good back there in the defence, but just point out there, I just noticed actually Sebastopol leading in the first quarter.
They were indeed leading at quarter time. So enough of this gooey stuff. Let's stop sucking up to Banner. Let's get straight into it, because we did catch up with our Stockland Wendouree Player of the Week. All these awards, I keep getting confused between them all, but definitely Stockland Wendouree Player of the Week, Lauren Gilcrist, after her 250th game at Sunbury on the weekend. We're going to have a listen to what she had to say. Then we're going to bring in a very special guest to help us preview this week's games, Maddie. So let's have a chat to Lauren, and then let's bring in Molly Boyle from Lake Wendouree.
All right, here with Sunbury's Lauren Gilcrist after her 250th game, with the special cupcakes to boot for it as well. Lauren, congratulations on your 250th game.
Thanks very much.
How'd it feel going out there today playing against a pretty competitive Sebastopol side?
Yeah, they definitely were. They've picked up a few players, which is good to see. Obviously, it's across the board, everyone's nice and strong now, so there's no easy games, which is great, and the girls did really well. It got wet, so that was a bit tough as well, so everyone loved the rain.
250 games is the first stretch in netball. Obviously, you've been playing since 1997. You've gone all throughout Sunbury's stint, the Ballarat Footy League. Talk us through, I suppose, a couple of the highlights of your time. We know what the main one's going to be, but the main highlights of your time within Sunbury.
Yeah, obviously starting with last year, with the big influx of the new players last year, it was awesome to be still a part of that. There was times I was actually where I was like, maybe I'm going to get bumped down that list and not actually make that team, but to still be part of the awesomeness is just great, so that's really good. Apart from that, just the friendships that we've made. I've been saying it often that you only stay at a club that's got good people in it, and I'm very lucky here at Sunbury that we've got awesome people.
The current team's probably as good as any that you've seen at Sunbury at the time as well, with all the talent that you've got going through.
There's been obviously good players along the way, but at the moment, just the level of the players that's coming, it's not just Sunbury as well, it's across the board, all the teams, which is great. So it's good competition, good league.
We'll let you go and do your warm down. Obviously, Taylor wants your cupcake as well. So congratulations on your 250th game. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Lauren.
Lauren Gilcrist from the Sunbury Football Netball Club after playing her 250th game on the weekend, and great to see Lauren in action. Of course, also our Stockland Wendouree Player of the Week for this week, Maddie, and great to have the Netball Show back. And whilst we've done so, we've brought in a very, very special guest as well. She's a former Stockland Wendouree Player of the Week herself this season from the Lake Wendouree Football Netball Club, one of their star defenders, Molly Boyle. Molly, welcome to the Netball Show.
Thanks, Shaun. Thanks, Matt.
No worries.
How's the season been for you so far this year? Mole, obviously, Lakers on top of the ladder at the moment, absolutely flying, and you've had really a quartet of handy recruits come into the club, which has really strengthened the depth of your squad.
Yeah, it's been really good so far this year. I guess we didn't really know what to expect. We obviously Katie's played in the league before, but we're bringing in 3 new players to the league who some of them have just come to Ballarat this year, so a bit of the unknown for other teams, which I think has been a really good benefit for us. But yeah, it's been really good. I think we worked really, really hard in pre-season, which I think is definitely showing with us sitting on top of the ladder at the moment. But at the same time, we have had, I guess you could say, some easy games. We haven't played as many teams in the top 6 as some other teams have. So we've got them over the next few rounds. So I think it'll be a really good test for us to see where we're really at this season.
And I suppose you look at the way that the new players have introduced themselves as well. Kat Biscan, Candice Page and Chrissy James, and just the way that they're rotating within the goaling arc as well. Having that all-new combination there, did it take a couple of weeks to kind of get to learn the way they play the game?
Yeah, definitely. And especially because obviously they haven't played together before as well. So just new for the rest of the team, plus them playing together as well. So it did take a couple of weeks, but I think we're finally really starting to settle, and having a sort of a three-pronged goaling attack is going to be pretty handy for us this season, I think.
Have you found, obviously, it's not just on-court that's been the transition at Lakers this year, but also off-court, of course. Someone like a Sally McLean, who's an absolute legend in netball circles within Ballarat, is pretty hard to replace. But with Kirsty Walsh and Mel Allen heading up the coaching staff this year, they're doing a pretty good job.
Oh, they're doing a fantastic job. I think we really ramped up our pre-season this year from a whole club approach, which is working wonders and paying off.
Even though Romsey injured every one of you on stage throughout the pre-season.
Yeah, but we got there eventually. So, yeah, it's been really good. And I guess having someone on court that can see what's going on the court as well, such as Romsey, and then having Mel, who's sort of got that vision from off the court as well, it's really good because you can sort of get two different perspectives.
Now, you're not obviously just a Lake Wendouree player. You've played in our RSL side, our interleague side, pretty much done everything known to netball, been a very esteemed career so far. What would be your career highlights, say, can be from juniors, seniors, anything, just your career highlights so far, just for netball?
I can't really separate between winning the senior premiership 2 years ago, I think it was. So that was my first year in seniors, so that was pretty exciting. And then also last year when we got through to the state finals for RSL and made it right to the grand final playoff and got to play on Hisense Arena as a curtain raiser for a Vixens game.
That was pretty cool.
Pretty special moments, so I can't really separate between those two.
Yeah, no, fair enough. They're both very exciting moments, and obviously a grand final is something that everyone in the BFL Netball ranks wants. Now, you played Interleague this year a couple of weeks back. Tell us a bit about that game and the experience of Interleague and what it sort of does for having the best girls in our league come together and play a game of netball.
I think, it was obviously, it's still a little bit of a sore point for all of us, the loss that we had, but it's really good. I think a couple of us have played together before, but it's good to sort of get on court against people that you've played against for most of your time, and you learn a lot of different things from them and learn obviously what they do and don't like on the court, which I suppose is a little bit of an advantage at some time. But yeah, it's a really good experience, and everyone always gets along really well. You sort of put all your rivalries aside once you get to Interleague, and it's a great, really good experience.
And it's been quite a profitable season for you as well. You've won a Stockholm Wendouree Player of the Week award and the voucher that comes with that. You won a coffee machine as Best on Court in the Interleague as well. And from what we hear, your partner Andy has kind of said that he wants to share in some of these spoils with free coffees and shopping vouchers and things like that.
Yeah, apparently so. Told him that he needs to win some of his own awards.
I think you're dead right there. He needs to get out and pull his finger out on the field. But we digress a little bit. Let's get back onto the netball and let's have a look at this week's games, because at round 7 there are 5 absolutely massive games of netball this weekend. We'll start out at Alfredton Reserve with Ballarat taking on Bacchus Marsh this week. Matty, 2 teams yet to win a game this season, but 2 very young teams in a development stage that have shown promising signs this year.
Yeah, I think both sides have been looking forward to this game in particular for the year. They both know that they're both not the strongest sides and are both developing this year with a few very young players. And look, it's going to be very interesting. It's hard to tip, obviously, not really seeing both sides at their best having a win. But I think that Bacchus Marsh have put a bit more up of a fight so far this season against some of the teams. They had a good game against Sunbury on the weekend just gone. So I think that Bacchus Marsh would just go over the top of the very young Ballarat side.
Molly, you've seen both these teams play this year. Which way do you think this one will swing?
I think it'll be pretty close. I will tip Bacchus Marsh, but at the same time, all credit to Ballarat. When we played them a couple of weekends ago, they just gave it 100% for the whole game, and it could go either way. I think Bacchus Marsh, but Ballarat will put up a really good fight.
Yeah, look, I'm with you. I'm tipping Bacchus Marsh as well. They were pretty good against Redan last weekend, and they've shown some good signs this year, and they're probably a little bit more ahead of their development than what the Ballarat side are, who are playing a lot of younger girls and a lot of girls directly out of the 19 and under side. Bacchus Marsh have got that, but they've also got some experienced heads, people like Susie Delmo, who you played RSL with last year, Molly, and girls like that are really coming forward. So Bacchus Marsh to win, but it will be a very close one. Another intriguing game between Darley and Melton South being played at Darley this week. Both teams still harbouring finals aspirations. One of them, I reckon, dies this week. And it's going to be pretty tough because Melton South have promised a lot this year but not really delivered, whereas Darley have kind of under-promised and over-delivered, and they almost start favourites in this game, the Devils.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I haven't actually really seen too much of both. Only Melton South the first round, and I haven't actually seen Darley play yet, only going off the results. But I think that Melton South, if they do perform as a team like they did when I saw them in round one, they should come out with a win. But Darley, look, they're both sort of the middle of the range sides so far this year. It's a very close battle, like every game this round. I think I'm going to have to tip Melton South this week, and it's going to be a very close game.
How do you figure out a team like Melton South, Molly? They came up and they nearly knocked off Melton. They were a goal away from knocking off Sunbury, yet they've had performances against other teams, like on the weekend where East Point destroyed them. Redan's done the same thing as well. Obviously, they missed Andrea Ty last weekend, who's a fantastic player. She's an A&L listed player playing with the Flames, but you can't just revolve a team around one player, really.
No, I think their biggest thing is perhaps a little bit of inconsistency. They've definitely got the potential there. When we played against them, they did some spectacular things, but just being unable to perhaps maintain that for the four quarters. So I think if they can do that, they can be right up there with the Sunburys and the North Cities and pretty much anyone, push anyone. But yeah, just getting that consistency is probably the main thing for them.
I'm actually tipping an upset in this game. I'm tipping Darley to win this because the couple of times I've seen Darley, they've looked okay. They're a little bit undersized. They probably haven't got the height in the ring as what a lot of other clubs do, but they're going about their business really well. They've had a few weeks to get used to each other's nuances at the moment now, and they've had that consistent kind of uphill slope with their last lot of performances. They weren't bad at all against North Ballarat City last game they played, and I reckon in a minor upset that the Devils will get over the line in this one. Another very interesting game this weekend, Sebastopol taking on East Point at Marty Bush Reserve. This is a game, I reckon it's nearly Sebastopol's season on the line here. They've promised a lot this season, they've shown improvement, they haven't taken a big scalp yet. They need to take one. This is the scalp they need to take, because if they don't, they fall 2 games behind East Point and they're as good as gone. They take this scalp, people sit up and pay attention to Sebastopol. They've been close against Sunbury in recent weeks. They've ran North Ballarat City as well. So again, they've had some good form line. They've had little lapses here that have cost them here and there, though, they have the Boroughs. They can take it this week with a bit of doubt over Emma Ryan for East Point, who's still got a bit of a niggling injury, which I dare say Molly will be able to touch on a little bit more after we've spoken to you, Matty. But I don't know. Sebas have to win this game, but can they against a pretty strong East Point side?
Sebas really need to put 4 quarters together. I noticed against all of the sort of tough opposition, they just always have one or 2 quarters to just slip it away. They'll be up there for sort of the 3 quarters, and then it's just 1 quarter where they seem to have that little lapse, and it just really costs them the game. So if they can put 4 quarters together, they'll give East Point a good run. But I think East Point, with or without Emma Ryan, will still be too strong. They're a very good side, and the weekend just showed that, and I think that they'll be too strong for the Sebas outfit this week.
Netball Show exclusive time, Mole. Emma Ryan, will she play this weekend, carrying a little bit of an injury that I think has cast a bit of doubt in her taking part in the last couple of Pride games for the year? Tell us, how bad is it? Or is there foxing going on? What's happening?
Well, I'd say she'll be there. She's pretty keen to get back out there. She missed last week, so she'll be out there, I would say.
How do you see this game going, Sebastian East Point?
I think, again, it'll be a close game. I think East Point will have a win. But like you said, Sebas sort of seem to be able to play really well for 3 quarters and then just slip away in one. It was what happened against us. We had a really good start and it was virtually even for the rest of the game. So I think if Sebas can put a good 4 quarters together and be consistent, they'll really push East Point. But I do think East Point will come away with the win.
Yeah, look, I'm tipping East Point as well. I'm a little bit reserved about it because I know that if you're right, Sebastopol put that 4 quarters together, that they can trouble just about any side in the competition. But until I see them do it, I'm not convinced that they can. Tipping East Point until Sebastopol prove to me that they can win these kind of games. Second last game for the weekend, and what a huge game this is going to be. Melton taking on North Ballarat City. The Melton Express is up and flying at the moment, with Brooke Thompson back into the Melton squad over the last couple of weeks and really performing. North Ballarat City dropped the game against Lakers last weekend. They didn't have any players with the surname McCartan in that side last weekend. They'll all come back this week, and as we know, Matty, that makes a huge difference to the North City lineup.
Sure does. The McCartan girls, and obviously McCartan as the coach, it makes a big difference having them all there and playing. But I think I'm going to have to go with Melton on this one. I think they played a very strong game against Ballarat. I was there for bits on the weekend, and they really did look like a very strong team, and they're really pushing forward towards a sort of top three sort of spot, and they're definitely capable of it. But this is the game that's sort of going to decide out of them and North Ballarat City who's going to be right up there this year with Sunbury. But I'm going to go with Melton this one. I've just got a weird feeling.
Yeah, we've got 5 teams tied on 24 points on the ladder at the moment, so this gives us a little bit of separation. Molly, you saw North Ballarat City last week. You didn't see them at their best, obviously, with the McCartan girls not there. How do you see this one panning out?
Again, I think this will be a very close game. I think Melton have perhaps flown a little bit under the radar at the start of the season, but now that Brooke's back and obviously playing at her best, I think Melton will definitely push, and depending on how Mel McCauley plays, if North can shut her down, then that's a really big thing. But if not, then I think Melton will come away with the win.
You raise a fantastic point there about Mel McCauley, who, of course, as we announced earlier in this show, was the SC Technology Player of the Month for May and the recipient of the fantastic Toshiba touchscreen tablet. Did some stats on during the week. They're in the record this week about how many goals Mel has shot this year for Melton. She has contributed over 90% of their entire score for the year. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Is that too heavy a reliance on one player? And I know I watched Redan against Melton, and basically Redan ignored the goal attack. They, on any inbound or any pass, Erin Riley and Amy Elliott doubled up on Mel McCauley. They had that height because they like to throw those lob passes over the top to Mel and use her height advantage. They couldn't do that really against Redan because you had Erin and Amy trying to spoil. Is that almost the way to beat Melton? Ignore the GA and basically double up on Mel?
I think, yeah, as an opposing team, if you're seeing another team where their one goaler is being so much more dominant and shooting majority of their goals, you sort of look that if you can shut them down, then you should be able to stop their scoring and come away with the win. So, but then the next question is, can you put a stop to her? She's
Correct.
A very good player, so she can be unstoppable at times.
You're right, she's a fantastic player, and I think that Redan game was kind of won out because she shot over 30 goals in just about every... In fact, she has shot over 30 goals in every game she's played this season, which just shows how dominant she is. And look, I believe that Melton can win this game. Having Brooke back just adds that extra layer, as you said, Molly, that extra defensive layer to them and gives them that little bit of extra depth off the bench as well. They've got running players like Jessica Kelmar, Jessica Bartlett that are playing really well as well. And North City, we know how well they play as a team. I've just got a feeling that Melton will have that little bit of X factor on the weekend. And the last game of the weekend, and two teams that you kind of just brushed when you were talking about potential premiership fancies before, Matty. You mentioned Melton, you mentioned North City, and you mentioned Sunbury. You failed to mention the top of the ladder, Lake Wendouree, and the third place Redan, who face off against each other in arguably the match of the round this Sunday, with the winner likely to take sole possession of the top spot on the ladder.
Yeah, I did have this in my little notes as the game of the round, so I didn't forget about the two teams. So obviously there's 5 teams on the same amount of points, so there's 5 teams that could go either way, and these two are right at the top there. And Lakers have just come out absolutely fine the last couple of weeks. They've put on a real show, and they just showed last week with such a great win. Even if the girls, without the McCartan girls, just still think North City, with the depth that they do have, would put up a good fight, and Lake Wendouree just absolutely destroy them on the weekend. So look, it's going to be a very tight game, and Redan seem to perform their best in the tight games. They always just come over the top, like North City in round 1, and I think that it's going to be a very, very close one, and I think it's going to be Redan, and I'm going to tip the margin by 3 goals.
Redan by 3 goals. That's putting your neck out there. What's going to happen here, Molly? It's probably fair to say you know a lot of the Redan players very well. They've got a very experienced side. They've played a lot of representative netball over the last 18 months. You know their coach very well, of course, who sat here next to us a couple of weeks ago when we were talking interleague netball, and somebody that you have played under a fair bit in this last 18 months. Is that an advantage? Or knowing Kate McMahon the way that we do you know that she's definitely got a couple of tricks hidden up her sleeve for you?
I think it goes both ways because obviously Romsey knows Kate and a lot of the Redan players very well, having played RSL with them also. So I think it's going to be a very interesting game because both teams sort of really know each other's plays and structures and stuff like that. So I think knowing Kate, she will have a couple more things up her sleeve because she's well aware that we will be onto that. And I think she'll also probably drill her girls on how to probably beat some of our players as well. But I think it'll be a really good tough battle. And I think while there's a lot of friendship between the Lakers and the Redan girls, it'll be a really good rivalry this weekend.
How are you going to beat them?
Just sticking to our basics, just doing what we do well, not forcing it in, and just probably trying to keep Amy and Erin out of the game as much as possible, not throwing any sort of dicey passes that they're going to come through and get onto, just keeping it basic and not letting them look good.
Time for my tip, and I'm a little bit damned if I do and damned if I don't, because I'm good friends with Kate and I'm good friends with Romsey as well, so I'm getting a phone call after this airs, no matter which way, just saying you're completely wrong. Look, I'm tipping Lake Wendouree in this one. They've been in fantastic form in recent weeks, Molly. Your team is really flying at the moment. You've got strength all across the court. You've still got that little bit of an unknown, as we mentioned earlier with your goaling trio. Not every team has seen them. Redan haven't seen them firsthand yet, so there's that little bit of the unknown there. And when you've got strength like yourself, Cara Hart and Katie Williams that can rotate through that mid-court position, it is really an area of strength. So it's going to be a great game. I'm looking forward to going out and having a look at it at Wendouree Reserve on Sunday. And I think Lakers by probably 3 goals. So I'm going to go the complete polar opposite of yours there, Matty.
Sounds good. We'll have to have a bet on that one, mate.
We might indeed. A more friendly netball show wager. Molly Boyle, thanks for joining us this week. It's been absolutely fantastic having you in.
No worries. Thanks, guys.
Look forward to watching you go about your business on the court on Sunday afternoon against Redan. Matty, thanks for joining us once again, mate. Great to be back with the netball show after a couple of weeks of imposed media ban on myself.
Yeah, it's great to be back, mate. I'm sure I've made all the fans happy, so I won't be receiving any abusive messages from now on getting the netball show.
Got about 30 last week, so that's one of the reasons why we had to get the show back up and running. But it's been great joining you once again on the BFNL Netball Show. We will be back again next week. There's absolutely no doubt about that. We'll see you then.